Temples have been a part of history since the beginning of time. Used for spiritual and religious ceremonies and gatherings, they are places of peace, most of the time. Here are 10 mysterious temples around the world. Number 10. Karni Mata. Rajasthan, India is home to many of India's best temples. The strangest of these temples is of Karni Mata. This well-worn Hindu house of worship is home to an estimated 20,000 rats. These rats are not pests, they're actually worshipped by pious visitors. According to Hindu tradition, Karni Mata was a legendary female warrior who became sort of a wandering sage in medieval India. Apparently, she was extremely charismatic and garnered a huge following. By the time she died, many believed she was the incarnation of a Hindu deity, and there are several temples dedicated to her. According to one legend, Karni Mata's son drowned at a tragically young age in a local pond. Karni flew into a rage and went to the god of death, Yama, to personally ask for his return. At first, the god refused, but Karni drove a hard bargain and they reached a compromise. The god permitted Karni's son and all of his future descendants to return on the condition they be reincarnated as rats. These rats now live in Karni's temple, and due to folkloric tradition, nobody can remove them, no matter how much they breed. Milk and food is regularly laid out for the rats, and worshippers come to see them in their thousands every year. Number 9. Abu Simbal. The two rock-cut temples at Abu Simbal are some of the most impressive temples in Egypt. The buildings have been carved directly into huge stone hills, an act of incredible craftsmanship in ancient times. It seems strange once you've seen them, because of how massive they are, but both temples were actually lost until the 19th century due to huge drifts of sand. The site itself is named after a little boy who led the archaeologists to the hidden temples. These temples were first and foremost dedicated to the god Heather. That's the cow-headed one for those that don't know. Heather was said to be a primordial deity from which all life came. She was supposed to have created both the sun and the Nile waters, so she was kind of a big deal. The pharaoh who built it, Ramesses II, was famous for his world-conquering activity in addition to his many huge construction projects across Egypt. Abu Simbal in particular is famous for its detailed reliefs of the Battle of Kadesh, the largest chariot battle in history. 6,000 chariots would have clashed in the sands in an epic war of nations. Although the god Heather is well represented in the temple, it is more of a temple to the pharaoh himself. Ramesses was a fairly egotistical ruler. He is frequently identified as the biblical pharaoh from Exodus. Two 32-feet-high statues of Ramesses and his queen flank the gates of the impressive building. The doorways have also been aligned east, so that Ramesses on his birthday and his coronation day, the sun shines through the entrances, lighting up the statues. Only the god Ptah, lord of the underworld, never lights up. Hey, real quick, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Give this video a like and hit that subscribe button for more videos like these. Number 8. The temple complex at Kanga Fort. There is a temple complex in Rajasthan, India that many locals are too scared to visit. These temples are part of a ghost town called the Kanga Fort and were abandoned sometime in the 17th century. Many believe the area is cursed and that lots of people tragically died here. It is still illegal to visit the temple and surrounding town between sunset and sunrise because of this ancient legend. There are many versions of the local legend behind the curse. According to one story, having been rejected by a beautiful princess and crushed by a boulder, an angry necromancer cursed the town and its inhabitants for the rest of time. Rumor has it that the city was plagued with endless deaths thereafter. Archaeologists believe these stories were so powerful that the frightened locals moved to a neighboring town. The temples here are said to be the most haunted in India, and ghost sightings are a regular feature. The little fort has multiple temples constructed over a small area, and the most famous of which is Gopinath Temple. It is believed that the inhabitants built as many temples as they could to rid themselves of the curse, but to no avail. The temples are truly beautiful and still popular with tourists in the daytime. Number 7. Angkor Thom. Angkor Thom was once the capital of Angkor under the Khmer Empire in Cambodia. The site is iconic for its overgrown walls and stone faces. The city and temple complex has sat abandoned since the 16th century and is now hidden away in thick jungle. Until recently, the site was in ruins, and one of the main temples has been reconstructed like a jigsaw puzzle by archaeologists. The temples at Angkor Thom have a series of huge stone carvings in the shape of many gods and mythological creatures. Among the stranger carvings at Angkor Thom is the most famous decomposing man at a site known as the Terrace of the Leper King. People are torn as to whether he is one of the most famous leper kings of Cambodia or Yama, the god of death. The figure is surrounded by both demons and dragons and adds a chilling element to the ancient ruins. The highlight of the city complex is a massive temple known as Bayon. This huge and mysterious building has 54 towers, covered in 216 giant faces. The massive smiling heads have become an eerie symbol of Cambodia's mysterious past, and many visitors find them quite creepy. Some scholars believe they may be the face of Giovanman VII, who built the complex. In a staggering act of megalomania, he devoted the temple to himself as a part of a royal cult. The temple complex also features hundreds of carvings with scenes of everyday life, from chess games to cockfighting. Angkor Thom is ranked as one of the greatest temple sites in all of Asia. Number 6. Konark Sun. The Konark Temple in Odisha, India, was devoted to the sun and built in the 13th century. The legend goes it took 1,200 artisans 12 years to finish the building, although this number seems a little too perfect. The entire complex was designed to look like an enormous solar chariot. It has 12 wheels and is pulled by 7 horses. The wheels still survive, and the carvings on them are spectacular. People can still tell the time by them because they act as giant sundials. The architect who constructed the site, a man named Bisu, is believed to have traveled to Egypt to learn precarious secrets about architecture. Originally, the entire structure was 230 feet high and was constructed using special scaffolding, apparently inspired by the Egyptians. Today, the building is still filled with supportive sand, which aided in its construction. Every inch of the building is covered in sculpture and carvings. There are many images of the god Vishnu, as well as many mythical beasts, dancers, erotic scenes, and wild animals. In its heyday, the temple was supposed to have housed floating statues. According to legend, a 52-ton magnet was placed in a way that made the statues appear to levitate. The story goes that the magnet was so massive, it would interfere with compasses of passing sailors. Number 5. Denichibo. Denichibo Temple in Etano, Japan, is a testament to one of the strangest and most terrifying religious practices in history, self-mummification, or Soku Shinbutsu. Located on the holy Yinding Mountain, this strange practice was most popular in this area. The temple is infamous for its still-preserved mummy, which attracts thousands of visitors. The mountains here were once a very secretive place, and in the past, visitors were not allowed to speak of what they had witnessed when they left. The self-mummification ritual involved 3 years of prep work, including extreme fasting and a diet consisting of bark and tree roots. A special poison tea made from tree sap and local water laced with arsenic was brewed for the monks. This liquid made the men extremely ill, with diarrhea and vomiting, but it also stopped maggots from eating away at their corpses. Basically a way to embalm yourself before you die. The monks would then lock themselves in a small stone box and sit in lotus position until they died. A bell was given to the monk in the box so that the attending priest would know when he died. On the day the bell stopped ringing, they took him out and put him on display for worship. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the Japanese government decided to ban this practice in the 19th century. Number 4. The Temple of Apollo at Didyma. Most people have heard of the Oracle of Delphi, the famous Greek seer who gave pronouncements on politics directly from the god Apollo. Less people know about the equally fascinating oracle at Didyma, who is also supposed to speak with the god Apollo. The temple site is one of the best preserved from the ancient world. The building lies on a holy spring, which the ancients believed gave subsequent oracles their divine power. A hollow built into the temple would have led the priests down the spring. Historians speculate the actual oracle may have taken hallucinogenic drugs or gotten into a trance-like states through intense meditation. Part of the temple was built by famous conqueror Alexander the Great after it was destroyed by the Persians. Alexander took great stock in oracles, several of whom had declared he would conquer the world. A third temple, built at the complex a generation later, would rival the great temple of Artemis at Ephesus for the biggest temple in the world by area. Its ruins cover 5,500 square meters. That's 5.5 American football fields. One of its best features was an enormous stone Medusa head, used to scare visitors. The temple at Didyma would have a bloody legacy. Many Roman emperors would go to the site to associate themselves with the famous temple. The oracle's message to the Emperor Diocletian would inspire him to pursue a policy of bloody persecution against the Christians, hundreds of whom were killed. Number 3. Thailand's Black Temple and White Temple. Thailand's Chiang Rai features 2 opposing temples, the Black and the White Temple. The black was made to mirror the white, which came first. They represent heaven and hell. The White Temple is supposed to represent purity, and its bright white color is very unusual in Thailand. It is studded with hundreds of small mirrors, and is very ornate. Its amazing wave-like structure has a 3-tiered roof decorated with weaving serpents. If that isn't extravagant enough, the bathrooms are plated with gold. The bathroom is supposed to remind you that the fixation with wealth is wrong, but mostly it just looks really cool. It isn't all that heavenly though. The entrance to this temple includes a forest of grotesque white hands, some of which hold up skulls. These hands are supposed to symbolize those who didn't get into heaven, and they make for a deeply unsettling walk across the ornate bridge. Don Bom, on the other hand, situated opposite, is known as the Black House Temple. It is supposed to represent an artist's depiction of hell. Inside are hundreds of dead animals in one of the world's best collection of animal skins. The complex is made up of 40 buildings around a central temple. The main structure is entirely black with metal spikes coming out of the roof, and the inside is similar. A long runner on the benches inside is made from a giant snakeskin, and the skeleton of an elephant is one of its key attractions. The chairs, tables, and the walls themselves are adorned with horns and skulls. The Black Temple and the White Temple are relatively modern creations, but rank among the most interesting temples in Asia. Number 2, the Padmanabhaswamy. This stunning temple, located in Kerala in southern India, is 7 tiers high and plated with pure gold. It is the richest temple in the world, the site of continuous worship since at least the 6th century AD, and it has a long history which is tied up with Hindu mythology. The treasure hidden in the Golden Temple is one of India's longest-running controversies. In 2011, a series of hidden vaults were uncovered within the temple walls, 22 feet underground. These chambers held piles of gold, emeralds, and rubies worth almost $22 billion. Among the finds were an 18-foot-long diamond necklace with a solid gold throne studded with diamonds. It is believed the treasure within is the accumulation of centuries of royals paying their respect to their gods. One of the vaults, which is simply known as Vault B, has been the subject of intense mystery. The vault is guarded by an enormous iron door decorated with cobras. The door has no handles or points of entry and cannot be opened. A local legend says the chamber is subject to a curse and must not be opened by anyone. The ancient Travancore royal family still technically owns the site, which is maintained for the worship of the god Vishnu. Just when the archaeologists were about to get a locksmith to open the tightly sealed final chamber, the royal family got an injunction from the courts and threw them all out. For whatever reason, the owners of the temple have refused to open the final vault, and very few people have even seen the door. Many journalists have petitioned the Supreme Court to forcibly open the hidden chamber, but to no avail. The contents of the secret room remain a mystery. Number 1. Kailasa. Some say that Kailasa Temple is India's great monument. The temple was built below ground level in a square man-made ditch, 150 meters deep. Astonishingly, the entire complex of buildings have been carved out of a single piece of rock. The temple was made as early as 760 AD by King Krishna I, and nobody knows how it was built using primitive construction methods. Because the entire building is constructed out of one stone, there would have been no room for the sculptors to get anything wrong. 200,000 tons of volcanic rock would have been removed in the process, which took 20 years. 10 giant monoliths welcome visitors to the temple, with huge carvings of Hindu deities cut into the stone. The rock is so hard that when later rulers tried to destroy it with chisels, they managed to not do any damage. The temple is also covered in 30 million untranslated Sanskrit carvings. As with many mysterious ancient buildings, UFO enthusiasts suspect alien intervention. Thanks for watching. What did you think of these mysterious temples around the world? Have you been to any? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye!